Hey everybody, Sean from Media Assault here, and it's time once again for another episode in my Countdown to Star Trek Into Darkness series. This time out is the first appearance of the Star Trek Next Generation cast in a film. This is Star Trek Generations, also known as Star Trek 7 Generations. And this was released in 1994. It was directed by David Carson, who was a longtime director of the TV series, which ended shortly before the premiere of this particular movie. Kind of the next four, well, including this one, the next four movies in the Star Trek series, the Star Trek franchise, are films that feature the Next Generation cast. And just to give you some sort of perspective, of my perspective, I guess, the first six films were the original cast. I grew up watching the original series, knew the original characters very well. I never, well, I shouldn't say never, I rarely watched the Next Generation series, maybe 5 episodes total over the running time of the entire show. And so I know the characters vaguely. I vaguely know, their characteristics and quirks and whatnot. I know who they are, but I don't know their backstories. I don't intimately know them. And that is going to come into play with these next 4 films. And I know that because I became very aware of that after watching Star Trek Generations. My feeling was sort of detached compared to watching the previous 6 films that I knew and loved, the cast, the characters. This was not an unpleasant experience for me. It was just different. It was weird. I felt sort of like I didn't have the foundation that I needed to really, really get into these films, well, this particular film anyway, and enjoy it. This particular movie, the first of the Next Generation cast films, was sort of a passing of the torch from one series to the next, because we have appearances in this film from William Shatner and Walter Koenig and James Doohan playing their respective characters, Kirk, Chekhov, and Scotty, in this particular film in the beginning, and then Shatner comes back as Kirk later on. I won't really give away the plot, mainly because it's kind of hard to explain, and it's really not necessary. If you like Star Trek, you're going to watch this movie. So the plot is really not that important. But one thing I did think about it was that it seemed less like a film and more like an extended episode of a TV series. It just had a different feel to it, and that may be because David Carson is a TV director. It may just be the pacing of the film and how it was handled. Malcolm McDowell is in it, and his appearance lent the character, or the movie, that motion picture credibility, I guess. But other than him, the rest was just the cast of the TV series and some other people. Even though I won't really give away anything from the plot, the one thing that struck me, and I think another thing that made me think it was sort of more like an extended episode of a TV series, is the plot. Even though it involved supposedly, millions of lives hung in the balance of the actions of the characters, there really wasn't a sense of urgency in this film, or at least I didn't feel one. I never felt like the characters of the new cast of the Enterprise really cared all that much that millions of lives were hanging in the balance as a result of this villain's actions. It just didn't seem like there was any emotional connection to that for the characters. Maybe that's just how they are. I don't know. I'm not as familiar with them as I am with the original cast. So I think this is going to kind of be weird for me as I kind of learn to read these characters a little bit. So it may sound like I'm being overly critical of this film, and maybe I am, maybe I'm not, I don't know. I didn't enjoy it as much as I did the previous 6 films, but I did enjoy it. There's a lot of humor in it that I got and I enjoyed, and I laughed out loud several times. That part of it I had no problem with whatsoever. And one of the things that I think that I missed, there's this subplot about the captain, Jean-Luc Picard, his family, or his lack thereof. and it didn't seem to go anywhere. And I don't know if that was a running subplot from the series or just something that was thrown in to extend time in this movie. So I'll see if that comes back or is referenced again in the next movie, which I believe is First Contact. I mistook and said that Star Trek First Contact was the next film, or the first of the Next Generation films last time, but I was wrong. It is Star Trek Generations, obviously. That's why I'm reviewing Generations. And I think I'm one of those people that may be having a difficult time adjusting to the differences between Kirk and Picard. Picard is very brooding, and I think it's going to take me some time to kind of adjust to that. Kirk is more of a swashbuckling, macho-type character, and Picard is very internalized and dark. Not dark, but very serious. I don't want dark isn't right. He's not really a dark character. He's a good guy. He's just very serious, and he seems very good at delegating things. So it's just weird. It's an adjustment for me. So if you're a Star Trek fan and you watch the Next Generation TV series and you've seen these films, this probably isn't an adjustment for you. It is for me. I did enjoy the film as much as I may be sounding like it was an unpleasant thing. I did enjoy it. I thought it was interesting how they integrated the old Star Trek characters in to sort of, like I said, pass the torch to the new cast. I did enjoy it. It just didn't have that film urgency that I was looking for, but I still liked it. So I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10. And I don't know. It's going to be weird watching the next 3 films. So I hope I warm up to this particular cast and their characters. I'm really hoping I do. But like I said, this wasn't an unpleasant thing. It was just sort of weird for me. And that's sort of why this video is a little rambly and uneasy. It's just because this was kind of a weird experience because it's something familiar to me, Star Trek, in an unfamiliar context. And that kind of made me have to rethink some things. But I did enjoy it. I wouldn't recommend it as highly as I would any of the original cast films, with the exception of Star Trek 3 and 5, which were 2 of my least favorite, but still good original cast films. I would rank this one somewhere between those 2, I think. So there you go. That's my review of Star Trek Generations from 1994 and my 7th episode in the countdown to Star Trek Into Darkness, which is coming out in May. Next week, I am not going to be available to watch. Actually, the next 2 weeks, I have plans over the weekend, so I may throw episodes 8 and 9 may either be a little late or may run a little early, depending on whether or not I have time to watch the next 2 films over the next 2 weeks. So the schedule might be a little off. The videos may not appear on Sunday night. There you go. As always, feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and take it easy.